With Julian on the brown note in 38 degree heat and 100 Fahrenheit plus, and all the doors shut and the aircon off so I can record the audio. It's going to be emotional. And an album review of Little Simz' album, which came out at Christmas by surprise, called No Thank You. So Little Simz' full name is Simbiatu, or Simbi for short, Abisola Abiola Ajikawo, with Nigerian parents and from the Islington part of London, the best part of London, where I used to live, though I'm from East Ham, which is what it is. So she's come to prominence for me with her third album, Grey Area, which I featured on my radio show. I'm just checking the producer because I think I know. Yeah, it's Inflo. So the producer Inflo is a producer here and has been associated with Little Simz, who gets extra credit for spelling the word little and not L-I-L, making every white person that says Lil sound inside their head stupid. Inflo has been the most prominently named person associated with a band I've called the most important and best band in the world, Sault, who I missed 5 albums from last year. I actually reviewed on this channel their album Air and gave it 9 out of 10. Classical album from them for some reason, but when I was overseas they released 5 albums in one day. I miss a lot. I've just given up trying to keep up with them. They've done about 10 albums in 4 years now. But he's the most of the acts, he, I don't even know, he or she, most of the outfit is still anonymous and eschews any notion of the press. So Inflo is the most prominently named figure associated with the act Sault. He produced Grey Area and Sometimes I Might Be Introvert as well, which was her 4th album. Grey Area I loved. I thought that was amazing. That was in my albums of the year. It was a really tight sort of under 40 minute wound coiled, no fat on it, really great production, and she fit like a glove to that production as well. Sometimes I Might Be Introvert was a much vaster album, a much sort of this is the entirety of me, a much longer album, long form album, huge success, won quite a few albums of the year plaudits, and it won the Mercury Music Prize, which only I think was awarded in sort of October, November time last year. And now, just before Christmas, she released No Thank You, which was just like an out of nowhere album, which is what I'm reviewing today. Again, with Inflo as the main producer, and the best description I've heard of it is it sounds the most like Little Simz fronting a Sault album out of all of those releases, which is a great thing. I think the last album would have been much more like Little Simz being helped by Sault, whereas Grey Area I thought there was a 50-50 balance. Here it does kind of feel a bit like a Sault album with Little Simz rapping over the top a lot. It's got a very soft woozy feel to it a lot of the time, almost in the lounge chill out zone, particularly the opening track Angel. It almost functions as an album for people that don't like rap. It's actually quite nice and soothing to listen to a lot of the time. A lot of the themes on it seem to do with the music industry, race and class, particularly with regards to her making music and not wanting to pander to rich white people in spaceships taking their kids to school and so on. And that occupies a lot of the album. Thankfully it isn't all of it, because I started to get a bit tired of it. And the other thing is that her career trajectory has been amazing. It might have been a struggle street for the first few albums, but since Grey Area, she's just gone up. I don't know, I mean, maybe she's being ripped off, but it seems like, that any time anyone says anything like this, white journalists start running scared, like they can't critique anything. But I don't know if has she suffered that much in her career? She seems to be doing really well. It's almost a little bit too bland, that opening track Angel, which is why Gorilla's got a much more sort of thrilling production to it. Got some of those Sault flourishes in the breakdowns, and one thing that Sault use a lot, and one thing that's used here a lot, is choral vocals. like a choir vocals. It keeps popping up here, and it's used really well. At times, when Sault get into a slightly less R&B and a bit more sort of militaristic funk sort of pattern, a little bit more upright and heavy, it does remind me a tad of Wu-Tang, almost Wu-Tang. I thought the third track, Silhouette, really did stand out for having that grey area urgency to it, particularly in the lyrical delivery. I thought some of the tracks, it was almost like the production was doing a little bit too much, because it was like little Simz was fit in the pocket over the beat, but then there was some musical elements in there where vocals didn't really fit. But I thought that Silhouette really did work. I'm pouring myself already, and it's got a real trip hop feel to it, and it's got a really strong chord progression, which means that it can last out its 6.5 minutes. I was concerned with a few of the tracks being that long on this album, mainly because of the artist Dave. I thought we were going to get into Dave problems. Again, track 4, I'm not going to go through all of them, No Mercy. It's got some nice flourishes in it, but the voice doesn't always fit all the way through the verse to the music behind it. It's almost like it's again doing a little bit too much, even though it's pretty minimalistic at times. I thought track 6, Heart on Fire, really hit the sweet spot. It isn't one of the longest tracks, but it still sounds quite epic. Again, the more militaristic, funky drumming really does suit her vocal delivery, and the chorals in it and the sample really work. It hits that sweet spot between the being a bit too bland on the chill out front and a bit too upright. It's just like perfect middle ground, and I thought it's a really good track, especially as it's not even one of the longer ones. And that's followed by another really strong one, which is the longest track, Broken, 7.5 minutes long. One thing I'll say about her on longer tracks, she knows when to shut up. Like, I really struggled with the last Dave album, because he just has to inhabit every second of a 9-minute track. Even like the track's finished and he's still going on a cappellas. She can actually sit back and let you enjoy music for a couple of minutes, and she does it on a few of these tracks, and a couple of the shorter ones she just barely pops up at all and lets the production and the hooks and everything do its work, which I thought worked a lot well. And also on track 9, Who Even Cares, she's got a bit of a Dame Funk, 80s electronic funk vibe going on, which I thought was really nice. I thought it was a really nice blend. I thought halfway through that I wasn't going to rate it that well, but right through the middle, Heart on Fire and Broken, really, really strong. 10 minutes of a relatively short album, but overall I think I really like the blend of the different song lengths on it. I like the fact that she managed to sit back and not sort of beat you over the head like Dave does by trying to give you a line every second throughout a very long track and not letting the music do its work. And this isn't, this was supposed to be a surprise album at Christmas rather than, her previous album was a fully sculpted work of art album, whereas this feels like a throwaway, but it's ultimately very strong. It's very easy to listen to. She moves away from moaning about the record industry and to a more sort of universal state of the nation address, even though the lyrics can feel a little bit one-dimensional at times. It broadened out into a more sort of universal topicality, which I liked, and it's a completely earned victory lap. I mean, he just win the Mercury Music Prize, and there's I don't go for awards. I hate the Grammys, but the Mercury Music Prize is it's got some pretty good alumni in there for people that have won, like PJ Harvey. And you can go through the list, and it's usually a list of very prominent alternative albums. Less so in recent years. The list has sort of eschewed the incredible indie revival in Britain. Very few of those acts have got much love from the Mercury Prize, whereas a lot more sort of 7 out of 10 acts have. But I think another strong album in a row from Little Simz. So no thank you, I'm going to give an 8 out of 10. And I'm burning up.